Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into something kind of basic at first glance.
Yeah.
It's an interactive model all about weighing scales.
Mm,
But trust me, this isn't just about watching some virtual needle bounce around.
right.
This deep dive is going to take us from those scales you might have in your kitchen all the way to,
Wow.
well, building bridges and measuring medicine.
It's true. You might be surprised at how much we rely on accurate measurements in just about every aspect of life.
Yeah.
This model is from an open educational initiative based in Singapore.
Oh, wow.
It's a great example of how something seemingly simple can unlock a whole world of understanding.
And the coolest part is this isn't just some dry textbook stuff.
Right.
It's an actual simulation that you can play around with
Yeah.
on pretty much any device.
Mm.
Now, the source mentions some sample learning goals.
Yeah.
And one that really jumped out at me is describe how to measure a variety of masses with appropriate accuracy by means of weighing scales. Have you ever stopped to think about how important it is to choose the right scale for the job?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you wouldn't use a bathroom scale to measure out ingredients for a cake.
You definitely would not.
No.
And that's where the idea of precision comes in.
Okay.
Different scales are designed to measure different levels of mass with varying degrees of accuracy.
Right.
Using the wrong scale can lead to some pretty big problems,
Yeah.
especially in fields like medicine, where even a tiny miscalculation in dosage can have serious consequences.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And speaking of precision, the source mentions a common misconception about converting between grams and kilograms, specifically the difference between 600 grams and 0.60 kilograms.
Right.
Now, I have to admit, decimals sometimes make my head spin.
oh yeah,
Can you break this down for me?
absolutely.
And maybe give an example our listener can relate to?
Think of it like this. Imagine you have a bag of flour that weighs 1 kilogram.
Okay.
That's equal to 1,000 grams. Now, if you take out 600 grams of flour,
Right.
you're left with 400 grams,
Okay.
or 0.40 kilograms.
Got it.
The amount of flour hasn't changed,
Uh-huh.
only the way we're expressing the measurement.
Okay, that helps. So it's
Huh.
like using different units to measure the same thing.
Exactly.
Kind of like how we can measure distance in miles or kilometers.
Right.
It's the same distance, just expressed in a different way.
Exactly. And the decimal point helps us pinpoint those smaller units within a larger measurement.
Okay.
It's all about precision
Right.
and being able to communicate those measurements accurately.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how decimals are like a secret code that unlocks a deeper level of understanding in science and measurement.
They really are.
Yeah.
And this interactive model does a great job of illustrating that
Okay.
by actually letting you experiment with different scales and see how those decimals come into play.
So we've got this hands-on simulation.
Yeah.
We're talking about the importance of choosing the right scale. Right. And we're even starting to unravel the mystery of decimals. But what exactly does this interactive model look like? What
What?
kind of experience can our listener expect?
Based on the screenshots provided,
Okay.
the model seems very user-friendly.
Okay.
You've got a clear visual of the weighing scale,
Uh-huh.
and you can choose from a variety of objects to weigh
Right.
everything from a pineapple to an apple, even a tiny little coin.
I love that they included everyday objects like that.
Right.
It makes the whole concept of mass and weight so much more relatable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of scales,
Yeah.
the description section mentions that the simulation offers 3 different scale options,
Okay.
each with its own level of precision.
Now that's what I call attention to detail.
Yeah.
Why include 3 different scales?
Wow.
What's the thought behind that?
It's all about helping you understand the nuances of precision. Think of it like using a ruler.
Okay.
If you need to measure something small and precise, you'd use the millimeters, right?
Yeah.
But if you're measuring the length of a room, centimeters would probably do the trick.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So it's like each scale gives you a different level of zoom,
exactly.
depending on what you're trying to measure.
Uh,
But why not always use the most precise scale?
right.
Wouldn't that be more accurate in every situation?
That's a great question. It might seem counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but using the most precise scale isn't always the best approach.
Okay.
Sometimes a less precise scale is actually more practical and efficient for the task at hand.
Right.
Imagine trying to weigh a truck on a scale designed for jewelry.
Oh, yeah.
It just wouldn't work.
That's a hilarious image. I can just picture a giant truck teetering on a tiny little scale.
Right.
But I get your point.
Yeah.
It's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Now, remember the source mentioned something about the simulation going beyond simply reading a scale.
Uh-huh.
What do they mean by that?
Well, they listed some interesting topics and skills that the
Okay.
simulation encourages.
Yeah.
For example, one topic is measure to obtain a reading from a suitable measuring instrument.
Okay.
This highlights the importance of selecting the appropriate tool,
Right.
as
Yeah.
we just discussed.
So it's not just about getting a number, it's about understanding the process and the tools involved.
Right?
It's like becoming a measurement detective.
Exactly. And the skills section mentions things like observing
Uh-huh.
and using apparatus and equipment.
Okay.
This suggests that the simulation encourages you to pay attention to details,
Yeah.
handle the equipment correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and really think about the steps involved in taking an accurate measurement.
I'm really impressed by how much thought went into the design of this model.
Yeah,
It's clear that they wanted to create something that goes beyond a simple virtual scale.
absolutely. And speaking of going beyond,
Yeah.
the source also touched upon the idea of common misconceptions,
Okay.
specifically the conversion between grams and kilograms that we discussed earlier.
Right. I remember you explaining it with the flour example, which really helped clear things up for me.
Yeah.
But why is this conversion so tricky for people?
It often comes down to understanding the relationship between decimals and units of measurement.
Okay.
Many people get tripped up by the fact that a smaller number, like 0.60 kilograms,
Right.
can represent the same mass as a larger number, like 600 grams.
I can definitely see how that could be confusing.
Yeah.
It's like a mental hurdle that we have to overcome
Right.
when switching between different units of measurement.
Precisely. And that's why visualization tools like this interactive model can be so helpful.
Oh, great.
They allow you to see the relationship between different units
Mm-hmm.
and how the decimal point plays a crucial role in expressing those measurements accurately.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of choosing the right scale,
Yeah.
the hands-on nature of the simulation,
Right.
and even how it helps us conquer those pesky decimals.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, does this model touch on the real-world applications of measurement? I mean, we've talked about baking cakes and weighing trucks, but what about other fields?
That's a fantastic question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that the source indirectly addresses
Okay.
by highlighting the importance of accurate measurement.
Right.
Think about fields like engineering, where
Yeah.
even a small miscalculation in weight or mass
Mm-hmm.
could have disastrous consequences.
You're right. I can just imagine a bridge collapsing because someone didn't measure the materials correctly.
Exactly.
Or what about medicine?
Exactly. In medicine, precise measurements are absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Think about dosages of medication.
Okay.
Even a slight error could be life-threatening.
It's amazing how something as seemingly simple as a weighing scale can have such a profound impact on so many different aspects of our lives.
Really is. And this interactive model does a fantastic job of highlighting those connections.
Yeah.
It takes something that might seem mundane and reveals its hidden depths.
I'm also really intrigued by the fact that this resource comes from an open educational initiative based in Singapore. It speaks to the power of global collaboration in education, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It shows how educators from all over the world are coming together to create innovative learning tools that are accessible to everyone.
Right.
It's really inspiring to see that kind of dedication and shared passion for education.
It makes you realize that learning truly has no boundaries.
Oh,
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yep.
We've explored this interactive weighing scale model, talked about the importance of precision and choosing the right tool for the job, and even tackled the sometimes confusing world of decimals.
and we've seen how these concepts connect to real-world applications in fields like engineering, medicine, and even our everyday lives.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for something I used to take for granted.
Me too. It's a great reminder that there's always something new to learn, even from the most familiar objects.
So for our listeners out there, we encourage you to check out this interactive model for yourself. The link is in the show notes. You might be surprised by how much you can learn from playing around with a virtual weighing scale.
And here's a final thought to leave you with
Okay.
as you go about your day. Take a moment to notice all the ways we rely on accurate measurement. From the ingredients in your morning coffee to the fuel in your car, measurement is everywhere.
That's a great point. It's a hidden world that we often overlook, but it's essential to so much of what we do. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive and happy measuring.